I fixed it. Sorry about that. I turned my machine on about half an hour ago and it decided that, oh, it's time to do some updates. And in doing that, it knocked out all my cameras. So, yeah, that was fun. The standard IT fix fixed it, but trying to deal with that for 20 minutes. Yeah. Hey-ho. But anyway, we're here. Yes, after a quick reboot, all my cameras magically started working again. No idea why, no idea what. It just decided, but then this machine is a bit random at times, therefore fun. Normal fun. Anyway, how are we all? Have we had a fun and exciting week, and are we having a great weekend? That's the simple question of yes is the answer. Come on, yes. I want some yes answers. It's going amazingly well because, yes, the normal fun and games. I've had a bit of a laugh this week in that, there we go, that's a yes. Yes, that's it, fine. Richard has said yes, and I'm counting as that for everyone. I had to chuckle this week because at the start of the week I did a video, a quick little video on Firewalla, and it sort of exploded a little bit, even to the point at which even Tom Lawrence did a quick video on Firewalla. But, yeah. Well, happy birthday for Monday, Rich. Having a week off for the birthday is quite an exception. But I don't blame you. I wish I could have a week off for my birthday. Wrong Richard. Jason. But yes. And literally, just while I was sort of getting ready, I caught Clay over at DPC's video highlighting the irony that goes, unfortunately, sometimes with working with Unifi. Which did make me chuckle, which we'll cut to in a bit. But yes, actually almost got I've actually come up with some subjects for a change, purely and simply because it's just been one of those weeks where I've had some stuff. So yeah, without further ado, we might as well start at the beginning with the Firewalla. More importantly, this Firewalla, which has really got some people misunderstanding what this is and what it does and why I do actually. This is one of the few products that is only cloud managed at the moment that I do actually like, because I have seen them from the start to where they are now, and they have a plan going forward, which is very, very rare for this style company, and they are doing a very good job, and they do exactly what they set out to do. They're not trying to be too clever. They're not trying to do absolutely everything. This is a Firewalla purple, and let me just whiz this down here, and I'll show you it a bit closer thing. So here you go. This is a Firewalla purple. This is basically a USB-C powered 2-port router. It does ad blocking. It has a degree of IPS. It has a VPN client and server in it. It does network monitoring. It can do DNS lookup. It can do absolute tons of things. And this is what is now classed as their baby one. Yeah, the color, it is actually purple. The color on this doesn't show that well on webcams. So it is a different color. It does come across as Netgear blue on the camera, but that's because my camera color palette is not set up right, I'm guessing. I wonder if I can see if we can tweak that at all. Just see if I can get it so you can actually see that it is honestly. Sorry, I'm going to see if we can do some. That's making no difference. I'd need to do some tuning on it, but it is honestly. You'll have to believe me. It's purple. The purple comes in two versions. There's this, which is the full-blown purple, which has a small low-powered AP built into it, and there's the purple SE, which is a lower-powered and cheaper product. And then the step up from this goes on to the Firewalla Gold, which is their bigger product designed for more technical people, but still keeping the ethics of them around. Welcome. But yes, it seems to have been a product that I won't say has flown under the radar, but they have done a very good job of building a good, solid, firm base. This is their website, and as you can see, so here's the Firewalla Purple, there's the Purple SE, and here's the Gold. I think it's the Gold SE now, maybe, or Gold Plus. I wouldn't mind getting hold of one of these. The problem is I don't have a mainstream use for it. The whole point is wonderfully, again, this is the thing, it's wonderfully simple. It is the whole point, cybersecurity, simple and powerful. And they do a very good job of it. Now, I know some people looked at them and have looked at it and balked at the price. But for the price they charge and for the actual overall quality of the product and the fact there's no ongoing subscription, they are very, very good. Going up through the range. I started using little Firewalla Reds. This is a Firewalla Red over here. I started using these back when they launched, and that was probably a good 4, 5, 6 plus years ago now, I think. And this worked by basically ARP spoofing. So the whole idea behind the product was it ARP spoofed and directed all the traffic basically that it could through itself, where it could then do a bit of ad blocking, do a bit of security filtering, and it could even at the time block devices from connecting to your network. So if anyone plugged anything in that you didn't want, or someone handed out your wireless password, that sort of thing, it would stop that from happening. So they then realized that unfortunately the little hardware in here, which was about the same power as a Raspberry Pi, just wasn't up to it. So then they came out with the Blue, and then the Blue Plus, which was a bit more powerful. Again, same working methodology. It worked by ARP spoofing, and then they added in the ability for it to effectively be a layered network. So they added in the ability for these to, so long as you turn the DHCP off from your router, you could configure this that it would overlay another subnet on top of your existing one. And it was a bit better way to work, but again, limited amount of power. Obviously, I mean, these boxes were, if you compare that to this, the red and the blue were about quarter of the size of that in terms of power. You are mad. Thank you ever so much for that. Excellent. I will be sure to come find you and follow you back, but you genuinely did not need to do that. It is much appreciated. But thank you ever so much. It will go to the power bill to run everything that's up here. Or to buy new stuff for up here to show you guys. That's the plan anyway. But thank you. Wow, that's derailed me a little bit. Anyway, back to where I was. And the purple then came along afterwards. I purchased the purple when it was a Kickstarter, purely and simply because I wanted one to play with. And that was like 2 years ago or more. And yeah, went from there. And I kept meaning to show it to people because every so often in someone's stream or on someone's video or someone would mention Firewalla. And I'll say this, a lot of the people used to put them down because they didn't actually know what they did. They'd never understood them. And people thought they were just a glorified Raspberry Pi based thing when they're not. So basically that's where we went with that. And then they launched the Gold, which was basically a much more powerful and router-based system for people who wanted the ease of use of the earlier units, but with a bit more power, a bit more functionality, and to be able, and I'll say this, to be able to support people who wanted to run small home labs very, very easily. And that is exactly what Firewalla does. It's simple and powerful. And that's these are one of the few people, a few companies that I will happily promote them. I don't get paid. I don't not partner with them. I'm not sponsored by them. There's none of that. I promote them because I think they do a damn good job and they produce a damn good product. And that's it putting it simply. If you can get hold of one of their devices, if you are looking for something for residential customers, and that's not something we deal with. We don't deal with residential often. Occasionally we will. But if I've got someone who comes to me and says, I want something that I can put on my network or set up easily because I want to stop the kids from being online 24/7, I want them to go to bed at night, I want to do all that, this is what I'll recommend to them. This is why. Because it's so easy and simple. And for the cost, I mean, no, it's not the cheapest, and I wouldn't recommend it if it was the cheapest. They cost what they cost because they have to keep the product alive. And they sell enough to keep it going, to deal with it, and everything else. So that is why I like these guys. They go away, they ask questions of their community, they come up with ideas, put them to the community and say, would you like this? And the community will go away, think about it, and they will come back and say yes or no. And actually, if they say no, and they have done it, or we don't want you focusing on that at the moment, they'll drop it. They'll put it to the back burner until they think the community might want that. So yes, I'm just going to go back, see. Yeah, it's out of stock. That was the last generation of Blue. Quite amusingly, if you look in the background, that's a Blue, and that's plugged into a Dream Machine, because they do work with them. So that is, again, a neat little products. But yeah, obviously the purple has come along, and the purple will work in exactly the same way as a Blue if you need it to, but the way they recommend you work it now is to use it as a router. So that is Firewalla. Afternoon, Mike. And that is kind of basically why I like them. That is why I will quite happily put I can't put my name to them, but I will give them my support. There is such a incredible amount of features that they have in there, in terms of what they do. I mean, I just go, it's ridiculous the amount of things that they do in these little boxes, but the best part is how easy they make it. I mean, I've got my trusty little tablets here that I have the Firewalla app set up on. I haven't got anything on there for streaming, so you're going to have to view it through a webcam, I'm afraid. Just unlock it a second. But let's see if I can get it to show. Probably can't. But the interface is literally that simple. If there's a machine on it and I want to block it, I tap a button. If there is settings I want to do, there's all the settings. If I want to turn ad blocking on or off, it's there. And it's not designed to be massively in depth. What it is, however, designed to be is simple and powerful. And that's what it is, and that's why I will quite happily put my name to it to say I recommend this product for the right use for people who want something that they can give to, say their mum and dad, or an aunt and uncle, or a brother and sister, or that sort of thing, family members, people who have no tech knowledge but want something that can actually help them. So that is the Firewalla. It is genuinely, Mike. This product, as much as people think, the most common thing I got. So I did this on. I did a quick thing on this on TikTok, and it kind of blew up. The most common thing I got, and the most common quote people were like us, why would I want that when I can use OpenSense or pfSense? And my answer was always, because this doesn't require you to have any tech knowledge. Yeah, I mean, this versus a Dream Machine, Dream Router, whilst a Dream device has similar functionality, similar ability, it's nowhere near as simple. You could not give someone with no tech knowledge access to the Unifi app and say, oh yeah, you can just block people and re-allow them for like 20 minutes here. You can turn their ability to go gaming off. You can do, you can be not incredibly granular with this, but what you can do is you can go to the point where you can stop your kids from gaming for an hour. You can stop them on social media for as long as you want. That sort of thing. You can, if they've given the password out to their friends for your network, you can go along and go block, 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 block. Have a look at this, Mike. Have a look at Firewalla, Mike. Honestly, they are doing such a great job. And I mean, I sound like an absolute fanboy, and I sort of am. But for someone who literally wants something that they can plug in, get working, the only thing that you have to deal with, which can be a bit of a pain, and I'll say this can be a bit of a pain, is the fact that if you've got an ISP router that's normally providing your Wi-Fi, that won't replace it. But that's why they've done the Gold Plus, or Gold with Gold Plus. That's why they are now doing, what is it, a Wi-Fi adapter for the Gold. Try and see if it's showing it anywhere. How do a UXG Pro is a different use case. So a UXG Pro is full on business. You wouldn't be putting a UXG Pro in place of for example, a BT Home Hub. So you wouldn't be putting it in place of an ISP router for someone who's just got a simple ISP router. I mean, so there's a BT, well, probably a BT business, but this is a BT Hub 6. Yeah, but it's not targeted at you, Jason. That's the thing, it's not targeted at you. The idea behind this is it does. As far as I'm aware, it does. I've never had a problem with them. Well, if the internet goes down, you've got no internet, so it's not going to be able to block people. But I never had a problem with the old ones when the internet was hit and miss. But that's the thing. The idea behind this product is to make things easy. You can actually, and that's what they're working on. They are working on a local interface for it. They have been for a while, but again, it unfortunately, sometimes to make things simple and to be able to manage them in a simple way, yes, you need to leverage the cloud. It's it's along similar lines to a Thingbox. Very much along similar lines to a Thingbox. They have a there's quite a lot of overlap between this and a Thingbox. And they launched them at the same time. No, this is the thing. The actual the reason I'm highlighting this product is so many people asked about the product on so many other people's chat, and there was so much unfortunate guff about them. There was so much duff information and things like that, because people were saying, well, it's only I can do all that with my Pi-hole, I can do all that with my pfSense, I can do all that with OpenSense, I can do that with TP-Link decos, things like that. And I'm like, you can do some of it, yes, but you can't do all of it, and you can't do all of it for that price, for that power usage, and have control of it via an app. So again, it's very much a simple method to achieve what you need to do for the right use case. Again, I mean, they have plenty of good awards for it. So yeah, I mean, it allows you to do so many things in a very easy thing. Yes, but are you looking at that from a business side of things or a residential side of things? Are you looking at that as dealing with someone who's technical, that you're managing, that they can manage their network, or they're completely not technical? And does the TP-Link range do the exact same things that this does? As in, I can go in and say, you know what, I don't want my kids to be gaming, therefore I just tap block and it blocks it. So I can literally block it for at the tap of a button. Again, I've not seen the TP-Link one. I don't know it. I'd have to have a look and to play with and see. But again, from ease of use factor and from how it works and what it presents you, again, putting pfSense in to a residential person is not really what I would be doing. Yeah, I mean, pfSense isn't my firewall of choice. Everybody knows that. I would have to compare it against a TP-Link. My big issue with TP-Link is how quickly they change their hardware and firmware. And again, it's kind of comparing apples to pineapples with pfSense, because completely different use cases, completely different products. I mean, I'm yet to find a TP-Link box that can run on something that size and run from USB and has a gig throughput. And what? Hold on. Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Which is it? It's the so ER7212. Let's go for so that's that one. Or is there another ER7212? Because that would not surprise me with TP-Link. There's probably 5 of them. again. So it's using Armada. It's nowhere near as easy. It's nowhere near as simple. And that's the difference. So again, I was expecting it to be one of TP-Link's normal routers. I mean, their deco ranges. Yeah. I noticed TP-Link are trying to go down the. They're trying to sort of attempt to do their own versions of almost dream machines now. I mean, the actual Deco app, I've heard interesting and good things about. I would say this is more close to it because this is the same target audience. But without first-hand experience of it, again, it's showing you obviously what's going on, but the product doesn't look to be as fully functional. It doesn't look to have everything in it. But it's a different targeted product. And yeah, that doesn't surprise me as well. So yeah, it's that sort of thing where they've made it so that if you want to do the more advanced stuff, you have to pay them. Would that be their home shield? I'm guessing. See if there's anything showing it. Home care. Parental controls, antivirus. Let's have a quick look. Bit of quality, some applications, parental controls. Free lifetime subscriptions, TP-Link Home Cloud included with purchase on select TP-Link routers at no additional cost. Lifetime for the life of the purchased device and cannot be transferred. TP-Link reserves the right to modify the service and feature at any time. So that's their equivalent, but again, I can't comment on it because I haven't used a TP-Link router like that for years. Haven't needed to. As I say, I've heard good things about the Deco stuff. I'd like to get hold of some, purely and simply. But the same thing, I'd like to get hold of the Amplify kit as well, and put them side by side. But with also the Ubiquity Unifi Express potentially coming down the line as well, I'll be interested to see how it compares and what they're going to do with that. What do you recommend for WAN failover router? Currently using TP-Link LTE Cat. We use Teltonica for our failovers. Again, ironically, some of the best throughputs I've seen on a 4G, 5G router are with the routers that a lot of the mobile networks. So over here in the UK, we have 3, we have EE, and some of the boxes they supply give phenomenal throughput in that, because all you're doing is plugging it into a WAN port. So if you've got a Dream router, or not a Dream router, a Dream machine, things like that, then you just plug them into the second WAN and fail over if you need to. Let's flick me back a second. I mean, obviously that is a Unifi LTE Pro. So obviously here in the UK, it's unlocked. I can put any SIM card I want in the bottom, and that effectively, I mean, I can plug that into a UDR and give a UDR dual WAN to a certain degree, obviously a failover WAN. But at the same time, it depends what you're trying to use it for. Is it a failover just to keep a site on in an emergency? Something like that is fine. Is it designed to be a keep the site running, keep all the services up and running? Then it's a different approach, and you have to look at how you're dealing with services, how you're dealing with IPs and things like that. So there are a couple of alternatives. I've always heard good things about Peplink, but they are expensive. Who else have we been dealing with? Microtik do the Chateau range as well, which is their home sort of home-ish / full business 4G 5G routers, as it were. They are, again, another option. Not the cheapest, but not the most expensive. But it all depends on what mobile networks are available, what throughput you're looking at. Is it going to be a primary connection or a secondary? We've got some sites running solely off of 4G via Teltonicas, and we don't get any problems with the routers. The routers just stay working, and they run a customized version of OpenWRT from Teltonica. But again, use case, business, residential, failover, active WAN. There's a lot of considerations that you have to put into it. I have used TP-Link 4G routers, and they've stayed working. There's been nothing particularly wrong with them. They were a bit wobbly to start with. So yeah, there are options available. It's going to vary a bit, again, just down to country variances. But we use a RUT9. So this is our default go-to on, oh, helps if I show you there. So that's a RUT955. That's a dual SIM industrial router, and they're not expensive for what they are. In fact, I think they are, yeah, they're calling time on that, so I need to be aware of that. So the RUT956, which I'm hoping is 5G. But it also supports GPLS, GNS, serial. Have we got dual SIM? So it's Cat4 still, so that one's been superseded. But at the same time, they're also doing that, which is the 5G. So a RUT X50, and again, we're looking at getting hold of some of these soon because they've only just come out. And again, might have to fill in the form and request, but they are a 5G. I think they go up to 3.3 gigabit per second. They are not cheap. None of the 5G routers at the moment are cheap. I would expect those here in the UK to be around £500 or £600 at least. But they're dual SIM. They support a lot of other features as well. They've normally got GPS built into them and things like that, if should you need it. So they are a very, very powerful device. So that's Cat20. But they still also support 4G as well. So they are backwards compatible. There is a central management available for them as well. So those are an option if you are looking for that sort of thing. Right, let's get back on subject a minute. Hold on, through that. Is there any way to disable DHCP on a UDM Pro, then use the Sophos firewall for the DHCP server? Also, would a USW switch work with the Sophos providing DHCP? What you would need to do is you would need to set up, as it were, two networks. So you would set up one network for your Unifi kit with your Dream machine, and then you would have to set up as listed on the thing, a third-party gateway network. And as Jason says, it's a lot of complicated ways of doing things. It adds a degree of complication. Ideally, you wouldn't put a Dream Machine in with a Sophos. You would run a Sophos instead of the Dream Machine, or you would have and you would run a standalone controller for the rest of your Unifi kit. It's not a pretty solution. You can do it. I wouldn't recommend you do it. You will end up with some weird things happening, and you'll be managing your network, half of it on the Dream Machine, the rest of it on the Sophos. And you'd have to have the risk of network loops if you are quite high as well, because you would have to set up ports to be on specific VLANs. Yeah, it's a complicated way, and it goes against the KISS principle of keep it simple, stupid. KISS is something that you should try and abide by wherever possible and wherever it fits, because it means if you do have to troubleshoot, you're not dealing with craziness. Yeah, I would, unless there is a specific reason you have to keep the UDM, like obviously if you're using Protect, then yes, but then what I would do with that is I would put the UDM behind the Sophos, and segregate off your Protect network that way, and have all the Protect devices plugged into the UDM or plugged into a switch that's plugged into the UDM. That keeps Protect out the way. But yes, it gets complicated because you end up with routers behind routers, double, triple NAT in some weird ways. And even if you want it for gathering stats through the Dream Machine, you end up with wrong stats and misguided stats and lots of missing information, because it's basically looping around through and natting and doing all sorts of weird things. Yeah. Do I think there's a new CloudKey Gen 2 Plus coming? I don't think so. I think they're happy with where the CloudKey Gen 2 Plus is at the moment. I'm hoping, obviously, going on some of my previous videos, we've got UXG hopefully coming. I'm thinking what we've got is a replacement, as I say, for the amplifier range. I would say going on what the Unifi Express names are. So we've got the Unifi Express Gateway and the Unifi Express Mesh Point. I would say they are looking at building a small, simple, quick to deploy mesh system with a built-in router. So that was where I was thinking maybe they're going to look at something to replace the amplifier range and bring that into the Unifi range. Their next thing, I think, what they will probably be looking at and working out how, is to go to the CloudKey range, go to the CloudKey Enterprise. Maybe, just maybe, we might see a CloudKey Pro at some point, not near future, but far future, which may be a bigger version of the Gen 2 Plus, so possibly with a 3.5-inch drive instead of a 2. And able to deal with maybe a couple of hundred devices, not the thousands, because I think the key aspect, and this kind of segregates us quite neatly over to the one of the other things I was going to touch on, was the good old you hold on, I think that's there, let's find out. Got it. The Unifi adverts. Now, if you haven't seen it, if you don't follow him, go and have a look at DPC Technology on YouTube. That's Clay. He's just done a video with quite a good title, because he's hit the problem that we've held off, which is one of the reasons why I have not sold UID to any of our clients yet, because in the UK, it's not yet available officially. You can use it, but it's not here. Now, UID, I think, is something that Ubiquiti are going to be pushing, and the irony of this is to leverage things like Ubiquiti access in an efficient and good way. You need to use UID. To use UID, you have to now, if you're over like 5 users, you have to pay. And this is coming from Ubiquiti, who have just done an advert saying how bad hardware as a service is with subscriptions. And the irony isn't lost on some of us, and we're just like, hold on a minute, Ubiquiti. So, yeah, the Unifi adverts, where they've blatantly gone after Meraki with their hardware as a service, selling subscriptions for that. They've gone after Verkada, sorry, for the CCTV cloud subscription service. And then they've gone after again some of the exact same Meraki, Aruba, Cisco, with the SD-WAN side of things, trying to promote the whole no license side of things, whilst at the same time now they have a system that is not really that good if you don't pay a subscription. I mean, access as a product. So that's an access hub. As a door access system, it's easy, but its feature set is mediocre. It's not brilliant, but it's not bad. It's simple, effective, it's an all-in-one system. But at the same time, if you want to use the full features and you want to use everything and you want to deal with it over multiple sites, you have to use UID. But to use UID, you have to pay to use UID. And that in itself puts Ubiquiti in a situation because they charge per user. So when you're being charged $5 a user a month, that soon adds up. And if like they've just done, because they gave it to everybody for free with 50 users over in America, everyone has been setting the systems up everywhere with everybody with 50 users, and now Ubiquiti have said, actually you only get 5 users. The rest of them you're going to have to pay for. And while they haven't finalized that, expect that to change, and what they'll probably come back with and say is, yes, everyone who's got it currently will keep that, but going forward, if you want to add any new users, it's $5 a month, which is expensive. If you could put 50 users for maybe $50 a month, $1 a user a month, fine, I could understand that. But $5 a month a user, it's not going to wear. They're not going to wear that. So expect to see changes coming on that. But yes, that comes down to these adverts are neat. I mean, Clay has just called Ubiquiti out. I will happily call Ubiquiti out on it. It's not worth it. If anyone from Ubiquiti watches this, you need to speak to the industry. You need to speak to the people that are out there promoting Ubiquiti, because apart from Jason, we like the product. We like what it does. We've been with the product for so many years, a decade or more now, some of us. But you really, really need to reach out to the community and say, what do you think of this? And when we come back and say, it's a bad idea, if you want us to pay, it has to be value for money, because that's the key point about Ubiquiti. Ubiquiti was value for money, and this is taking it away, and this is misguided, and I think someone somewhere needs to rethink. So that's my stance on it. Ubiquiti sometimes get it right, sometimes get it wrong. This is one they've got wrong. And this is the problem with UID, and this is where it kind of takes us onto the cloud key side of things again. So the big thing about... Just hop over here. Yeah. So obviously there is a big push from Ubiquiti to push the software, to push Site Magic. So we've got gateway consoles. What we haven't interestingly got here listed. So let's go and have a quick look. There's utility. Where's our... So the big thing for identity. Identity, yes. But what they are not actually doing, I'll go into here. So if we go into, so there's gateways, cloud keys and gateways. So with what I think the direction of travel of Ubiquiti, we've got the UXG Pro. We know we've got a UXG on the way, so there's going to be a smaller version of this. Got the Cloud Key Gen 2 Plus. Notice how the sadly the Cloud Key has been dropped, which is a shame because that actually for certain places would be a better product. But we've also got obviously the Cloud Key Enterprise and the Cloud Console. Now, the Cloud Key Enterprise, I've said this before and I will say it again, is targeted at companies like us. That is a targeted thing for companies like us where currently we host either self-host our controller for all of our sites, or we third-party host it via someone like Hostify. That is a shot over the bow at Hostify. This product is designed to take people off of hosted services and get them back onto a Unifi product, because the Cloud Key range integrates with UID, but the standalone controller does not. And that will be the selling point. That will be the bit that pulls people onto these. And that is what I think they are hoping to do, is to start to try and push UID as a way of managing the whole system. So when you've got a UXG in to deal with the small businesses, you've got the UXG Pro to deal with the bigger businesses, all talking back to your Cloud Key Enterprise that's got 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 businesses on it. Then you can leverage UID and they can make some money from UID. Because you can't do that yet with a standalone controller, and I don't think you ever will be able to, and that will be the differentiation between the Unifi OS controllers and the standalone controllers. Because there will be features like passwordless wireless networks that will leverage UID because it's stored through UID. The authentication is stored through UID. That is where I think you will see things going. That is why I believe there is going to be a bit of a push. I mean, this product is useless at the moment to anyone with a bit of sense in them. You would never push this out to production. Until they make this high available, we won't go near it. This is it. Why would I touch that over having a virtual machine running our controller that if it goes wrong, I can spin it up on another host, or for us, we leverage Hostify, so we pay effectively Riley our money every month to manage, maintain, update when needed, back up and recover our controller in an environment, in a data center, versus that. Whereas, which, if that goes down and crashes, that's everyone offline. Yes, this is the bit they do not get. And again, quote me, whatever. Ubiquiti need to listen to companies like us. I've spoken with my business partner on this, and we are both in agreement. If, big if, but if Ubiquiti come along and make that product HA, so we would have to buy 2 of them. If you work out, for example, say you charge your clients £1 a device a month, and you're dealing with 1,000 devices, so you're pulling in £1,000 a month to host and manage their devices as a business. 4 months, that device is effectively paid off. 8 months, 2 devices are paid off. 12 months, you've cleared, you're happy, you've made your money back on the devices, and your hosting costs are your power and a bit of time clicking update periodically. That's it. So if you're hosting with someone else, for example, Hostify, you're paying, I know now it's $100 a month for their 251. This is the problem. People are looking at it as a... People are looking at this as something that maybe they'd be wanting for a small business. It's not designed. That's where I think they will come up with something in between this and this. I would not be surprised to see a cloud key professional at some point. That would be my key thing. But what Ubiquiti have got to do is speak to the community and speak to the things. Yeah, exactly. CapEx, OpEx, but also when you've got a company that is actively promoting and saying, we're not hardware as a service, yet to leverage your hardware fully, you need to pay a subscription, that's a problem. So what are they going to do? Are they going to sort of play skirt around the edge? We'll see. Evening, Isaac. Welcome. Again, they know the cloud console is there, but at the same time, they also know that not everyone is going to use it. So say for us, we can't use it in the UK yet. It's coming soon. Not a lot of good to me, that. No dates, nothing. So, yeah. Well, that is, yeah, that is exactly it, Mike. If they start to do stupid things, people will move away. The easy move away and the easy solution is something like Aruba, Instant On, Meraki Go. You've got Alta in the wings trying to be the next Unifi killer. For us, we've got Sophos wanting us to sell Sophos APs and Sophos switches, which, yes, there's a prescription to them, but we use a lot of Sophos hardware and they want us to sell their switches. So, yes. What do you do at that point? Again, having a... stepping back and putting a business head on, a lot of... You can see where Ubiquiti are going with their products. But at the same time, they need to understand and listen to the community and listen to businesses when we say, why? We don't need that product from you. We would rather you invest your time and an R&D budget in this style product or in this direction. Yeah, shareholders want a return, and they're getting a return. Ubiquiti could sell ice to Eskimos. But the problem is, once the Eskimos have got the ice, what do they do with it? And once they've all bought their ice, who do they sell to next? And then when the Eskimos start complaining about the ice and they get bad press about it, then people start to worry and stuttering happens and concern. So, yeah, we're looking at where they're going. Yes, Ubiquiti are trying to do the whole managed business side of things. They want to manage a business. They want to be a business's end-to-end IT infrastructure. I wouldn't put Ubiquiti as an acquisition target. If they're an acquisition target, sorry, I know it, yeah, I wouldn't class them as an acquisition target If they did ever get acquired by any big VC companies, then yes, I would be concerned and I would be looking straight away at moving, because I have seen what VC does to industry like that. You would see a marked change and there would be a push for subscription, because that's the way that they would want to go to earn the money back on their acquisition. And then Ubiquiti would lose. Yeah, it's, you only have to look at Kaseya. They got VC'd, and they are now the boogeyman of the MSP industry. If anyone gets acquired by Kaseya, they have an exodus of customers. So, yeah. I like what Ubiquiti do. I like the fact that they are brave enough to put their head above the parapet and go, you know what, we're going to do an electric vehicle charger. Scary things, but they did it. We're going to go into telephones. We're going to go into displays. We're going to do this. We're going to do a new product range, which is great. But sometimes it's like, well, why? Why did you do that? And why did you give us a product that we can't actually use? Tell us you're going to do it. Give us a release date for a working, completed, or 98% complete product. But don't give us something that is 10% complete and then string us along for a year. I mean, the PTZ is an absolute exact thing on that one. The PTZ camera, this was a joke when it launched, because the first thing people asked is, does it have auto track and does it have patrol? And we were told no. And at which point everyone who has PTZs went, oh, I'll restart my device later. More updates to do. Everyone who was watching it went, oh, well, it's no good for us then. We're not going to buy it. And this is one of the few cameras that has stayed in stock because nobody wanted them until recently. It's less than that. So auto track is a very recent thing in actual production. It was out in EA a bit earlier. And this is it. It's a very well built product. They did that bit right. They built it very, very well. But the fact that it was missing basic functionality, basic aspects, that all the other brands did, let it down. That in itself was a problem. The other one, I mean, Ubiquiti's camera range mostly makes sense. The AI Theta, there's mine, somewhere over there. Again, another product that wasn't really asked for, doesn't have a great use case. It was a product that was, it's one of those, no one really asked for it. I can understand their thoughts behind it, but it's a nice to have product versus maybe a smaller PTZ or a working properly PTZ. The other one, the AI DSLR, again, nobody wanted it. Who wants to spend £2,500 on a camera because it's got a nice lens on it for a Unifi Protect setup? You could do an entire install for less than the cost of one camera. So, at that point, it makes a cost-effective install very cost-effective. The Dream Wall I like, but they got the product wrong. As someone who has a Dream Wall, they got this product slightly wrong. It could, with a few very small tweaks, they could have been spot on with this product. Literally, I mean, the whole difference between the early access and the GA version is nothing. It's got a nicer screen. That's it. And when it's in place, no one will look at the screen. The basic features of it are they put redundant power supplies in for no reason, which was never needed. So it was never needed to have two power supplies because it only ever had one power socket. So the redundancy is redundant. You don't have redundancy. You just have the ability that if a power supply fails, hopefully the other one will kick in, so long as it doesn't blow the unit up. The touchscreen for management. The only thing you do on the touchscreen for management periodically is if it's playing up, you reboot it. That's it. You don't do anything else. An integrated SSD, no different from a Dreamwall. But what they don't tell you is, well, if we got rid of, say, this power supply up here, there would be plenty of room there for either a pair of 2.5-inch drives or a 3.5-inch drive, which you could have put Protect on. And that would have been perfect. The switch on the top is good. It has the right combination of ports. So you've got non-powered ports, PoE++, PoE+, and PoE ports. So you've got plenty of ports for a small house or a small business that you can build off of very easily. You don't have to install a rack because it just sits on the wall, and once it's there, you don't notice it. It's, yeah. Yeah, this is it. It's a really good idea, but they literally, like, it's the whole shoot for the moon, and they shot for the moon and they bounced off the surface. They were so close to getting it right. You've got two. You've got a 10 gig WAN port, you've got 10 gig LAN port, you've got 2.5 gig WAN. It was so close. And that's the shame. That's the real bit that they could have got so right. And they failed. And supposedly, if you notice, we were going to get the Dreamwall Pro. That's vanished off the face of the earth at the moment. So that's obviously gone on the back burner because, again, Dreamwall Pro might hopefully have an integrated hard disk. Interestingly, the GA version of the Dreamwall comes with a 512 SD card, but what they don't tell you as well is it's got redundant power supplies, but the GA version only comes with one. So if you wanted another power supply, you have to buy one, but the problem is you can't buy one because Ubiquiti don't sell parts yet. Yeah. It's silly things like that that really cause people to question Ubiquiti sometimes. It's just frustrating. They get so close and then they'll do something stupid. Dream Router. Dream Router is a great little way to get a Ubiquiti setup in. It's perfect apart from the fact that they put too small a processor into it because it's less powerful than its predecessor. If they put the quad core in with a bit more oomph and it could do a gig throughput, this is why they had to add that in, because they realized that people were buying this and then being very disappointed because they bought it to replace, say, a Dream machine, thinking it was an upgrade, and their internet speed slowed down. But for a starting point, these are brilliant. It's just, again, they were so close. They stuffed a dual-core A53 into it instead of a quad-core, I think A57. They could have done a, literally for probably what would have cost them maybe $10, $15 more. Yeah. Yeah. That is exactly the problem. And that will be, until Ubiquiti realize and actually engage with that. I know, I have a suspicion because of, we've seen this whole So let's reset that back. So we've seen this whole redesign. We've seen the product range actually narrow a bit over the last 6 months. And we've seen a focus from Ubiquiti that I will say I've never seen them focus before. We are getting better quality out of them, a lot better quality. But what we need is them to not redo they don't need to do the EA, as it were, range that they did before, but what they need to do is get a sampling of people, put a product idea to people that actually go out and have to sell their stuff, and listen to the feedback as to why it's a good idea, why it's a bad idea, what could make it a good idea from a bad idea, what maybe they should consider doing instead of certain bits. Because there's silly little things. It was like the door access. The door access kit is great. Access stuff, access products as a standalone product is good for small businesses. It's good because it is so simple and so easy for them, and it just works. But the fact that they missed the simple thing of, well, we need a central point that we can wire in an emergency system to, or we need a module that can be wired into an emergency system. Just silly little things like that, which are critical for, like in the UK, if you have door entry systems and they're in areas that don't have a fire escape, you have to have the door unlock when the fire alarm goes off so people don't get stuck. And it's things like that. It's just they're missing silly little things. Getting all upset. I think you do like the fact that support contract direct with Unifi is bad for MSPs, maybe. I know. In all honesty, if people want to buy direct from Unifi and get support direct with Unifi, I don't have a problem with that, because what we offer is not just Unifi, it's the rest of the solution and the knowledge. There are companies out there that it would decimate them because they've built their entire portfolio on being the only people that people should need to talk to, when actually in this business you need to talk to a multitude of people. You want solutions. Yeah, knowledge, architecture skills, being able to do it. Yeah, if you said to people, don't worry, it's all supported, just phone Ubiquiti up, people would still be moaning 24/7, because at that point Ubiquiti would be overwhelmed, because the product is so popular with people who aren't that technical. They try to do things. It's that sort of catch-22. We sell to our clients with a markup on Ubiquiti kit, because that markup is our time and knowledge, knowing what going away, ordering it, making sure it's the right product, making sure it gets to them, and then we charge to install it as well, because they need us to install it so it's installed properly. That's why we are in business. If we couldn't do that, we'd be using someone else. Yeah, I mean, the layer 3 routing argument is always a fun one. Do you route at the switch, or do you route at the firewall gateway? And it's always well, if you're routing at the switch, can you put the same security level on it as you can at the firewall? If you can, and you're able to manage and maintain and limit what you need to go through the different routing, fine. Route at the switch when there's enough of a distance in terms of the network, and there's enough of a difference it can make to the local network performance. But if you've got a building that's a standard big office, you're not going to gain any performance unless you've underspecced the firewall. massively. You're not going to gain any performance routing at the switch over routing at the firewall. It's that sort of thing, and and a lot of the times, like I saw the question does get asked. Oh, I want to route. I've got a Ubiquiti. Go on there. There's a USW Pro right here that does layer 3 routing. It's never going to layer 3 route in my network because I don't need it to, because it doesn't have the capabilities. And at the same time, I'd never route on a Ubiquiti switch in production because it doesn't have the capabilities. Access control lists are just not there yet. I don't need that functionality, and anyone who's trying to use that functionality is getting problems because it doesn't have what actually is needed. It can do a basic routing, which is great if you need that, but that's it. Yeah, OSPF, BGP, having the ability to, I mean, it's one of the things that I've told already. I fed this back to Sophos. Sophos want us to sell their switches with firewalls, and I said to them, well, what benefit does that give the client? If I want to sell, find one. So, if I want to sell a Sophos switch, what benefit does that have over a Unifi switch? What can I tell the client? Well, it's managed by Sophos. It's like, great, but our switches are managed by Unifi and they're cheaper. Oh, well, if there's a problem, you've got Sophos support. So if there's a problem with Unifi, we've got us with 10 years experience plus of Unifi and 20 years experience doing the job. Oh, if one goes wrong, we'll get you one out the next day. It's like, yes, but I can afford to keep Unifi switches on the shelf. And they're unlicensed because with a Sophos switch, you need a license to maintain it. And it's like, there is no, as I said, the simple fact is, if you said to me that if the firewall picked up that some traffic was coming in on a port that needed to be blocked and I could isolate the port automatically, that's a selling point. That I can go back to a client and say, security-wise, if the Sophos firewall picks up that there's a compromised device, it will not only lock down the client, it will lock down the port that they are on. The Sophos switch lifetime warranty is as long as you pay the yearly support license. It's the same as Meraki. And that's the problem. They don't see the fault with it. And I had this actually in a Sophos group where I've spoken to my account manager at our distributor now. I've spoken to the account manager at Sophos who oversees that. They hardly sell any here in the UK. One of them cannot remember the last time he had an order in that had Sophos switches on. So whether they're selling them in the US more, quite possibly because of the way the MSP platforms are out there. But here in the UK, we haven't sold one. I haven't had a reason to sell one, and I cannot find a justifiable reason to sell a Sophos switch over and above a Ubiquiti switch, because if I sell that, I then have to charge yearly for that. And clients are going, why? What does it give me? Oh, well, it gives you warranty. So in 4 years' time, and you've spent 300 quid on licensing for the year, you could have bought another switch and had it sat on the shelf. And the chances are that, in all honesty, with modern hardware, it does not really fail, especially switches. Instant On is priced here the same, if not more, than Ubiquiti. They are badged up as a Ubiquiti alternative. But I have sites. I couldn't install Aruba Instant On because the sites are too big. I've got a site with over 30 switches. Up until recent, I know they've just changed it to 50 devices per site, but I have a site with over. It's going to have probably closer to 80 to 90 Unifi devices. I would not be able to manage that in a site with Aruba Instant On. That's the problem. That's not a fault of Aruba Instant On. That's a fault of HPE not wanting to lose Aruba sales. And that is a big problem. If they actually accepted that if they got rid of those limitations, they would sell even more Instant On kit, and that would more than make up for the loss of Aruba licensing sales. I don't need to manage them locally, though. I've never needed to. That's the thing. I don't need to do. Those are things that do not come up to us because we don't have that problem, because we have enough kit on site and enough internet connections that I don't need to manage them. And if I have a problem, I just stick a pen up the arse of the bloody switch and reboot it, and then connect it back up again. So it's, again, I don't need that for our use case. It's something that we don't come across anymore. Don't need to. The biggest thing that puts us off using Aruba is the limitations of the sites. I've got 2 big sites that would be ideal for that product, that style product. But I can't use the product because they've got more than 50 devices. But I don't want to manage them locally. I don't need to be managing switches per switch. I need to be managing them centrally. I want to build a network and have it pushed out instantly. Now, unless there's a way you can do that with Aruba and not have to connect or not have to script it to go out to every switch and build it, it's those sorts of things. If you could manage, if you could manage 200 Aruba switches in one site, then Aruba would be selling even Instant On would be selling so much more. That it's HPE's bean counters saying what we need is yeah, but these are SMB. It's not enterprise. It's just down to the fact that the way that the buildings are built and the way that the business is laid out, it has to have a lot of switches and it has to have a lot of APs over a large area. It might only be dealing with 150 users, and a lot of them are small switches, but I still need that functionality. As I say, Instant On is good. I'm not denying that, but what I'm saying is Instant On is it is deliberately limited by HPE for no other reason than they don't want to lose sales of Aruba main kit. I am winning my case, and you know it. I can use Unifi, I can't use Aruba there because of the owning company being stupid. Purely and simply, the owning company is being stupid. Yeah, well, this is it. It's the whole Cisco. I mean, I need to get hold of a CBS, was it 350, 250 switch? And if I can, one of their routers. And I will give Cisco Business Dashboard another go. He won't change his mind, Mike. He's stuck in his ways. He's an old man. He's an Instant On boy. And I can wind him up about it no end. It's fun. But yes, at some point I will be. Yeah, you are. Don't deny it. No, sorry, you're ingenious at the moment. Not that you were. I've got bloody I've got some weird Chinese manufacturing company that do some very bizarre products like SFP plus DAX and all sorts of switches, trying to offer me free switches, and I'm sat there going, it's not my ball. Don't want to touch it, because if you send it to me, you'll be expecting something and I don't want to. I had the instant on test kit. It was a brilliant kit. Once you got past the fact that they hid, once you got the part they hid the actual dashboard for it because they wanted you to use the mobile app. I was shocked at that. And again, when I had to speak to Jason and say, well, what am I doing wrong? And he's like, well, you need to use the dashboard. And I'm like, what dashboard? There isn't one. And he's like, there is. And I'm like, but where is it? It's here. Oh. And again, all the documentation that came with it was use the app, use the app, here's the app, use the app. And that was the problem. And I showed it even on their page. You had to dig for the bit that made it good. I don't think he said, what he said, Mike, is you could put 200 instant on switches on a site, but you would have to configure them locally. No, I didn't. I showed you the instructions and you know that. Don't try and spin it. I showed you every bit of paper. There wasn't a single thing on any bit of paper that I had that said go here. It was on their website, buried. Yeah, whatever. Don't blame me. That they basically sent me a package that said use the app. Whatever. You could. My address is easy enough to find because it's a business. So. Did I see Mike offering me a Switch? I'm actually in Hampshire next week for a day, but I won't have time, unfortunately. I want to buy. I can get them from our distributor. Yes, I just need to basically get hold of it. I will pair it up with the little 2x2 CBS one thingy, 150, and I will revisit the Cisco Business Dashboard on the latest version and see if it has improved. I have the right to slate the absolute everything out of it because I have a suspicion it hasn't. Yeah. The fact that I did a video on it. No, sorry. Who was it? David Bomball did a video on it, claiming it was a Unifi killer. I did a video on it and went, this is awful. This is if Unifi was designed by someone from Cisco. And it was terrible. It wasn't just it wasn't even if anything, it was kind of like it would be if a Unifi killer was made in North Korea. It was that bad. It's like, or the Iranian quantum computer level of bad. It was terrible. It's so hopefully they've learned. Hopefully they've actually accepted the fact that maybe they need to deal with it. But that's the problem. You configured your CBS via SSH. That's not a Unifi killer. Cameron graded the video today with the SS. The SS what? I haven't seen that. I'll have to have a look in a bit. Yeah, it just... Oh, SSH. Yeah, who needs... No, again, I don't need a GUI, but it saves so much time. Yeah. Cisco Business Dashboard, I will have a relook at when I've got a switch and maybe a router. Yeah, CBD. Crappy Business Dashboard. I mean, that's the basics. Or crap... No, sorry, as I put it, the crappy broken dashboard. Because that's basically what it was at the time. It was horrendous. But it's because they applied Cisco logic to it. I've still got the VM running in Hyper-V. I don't think the dashboard is running on it anymore. I think it keeled over and failed to start again. So, but the small business marketplace is getting crowded. I mean, I can just over here. So let's have a look. One of the UK main suppliers, and again, this is who most of the time people will go to look up pricing, and this is who we always get this is what we charge, and they go, but eBuyer charge this, and we go, fine, go to eBuyer. If you want us to set it up, it will be that on top of what eBuyer charge, and then they come back to us. So networking and security, wireless access points. So this is the de facto standard. Yeah, Arista just need to stick to their target audience, which is enterprise. Well, I suppose all broadband buyer. Yeah, that was it. They bought Untangle and then they took away the free one. Yeah. But I mean, this is, if you say to anyone Unifi, they hop onto here. I mean, there's get an AC Pro from here. But you can also get all the Armada kit, TP-Link, Zixel, Draytech, woohoo! More Zixel, Meraki Go. I mean, they have most of the manufacturers. I'm actually amazed that they haven't got Alta on there. Why on earth? Wow. I didn't even know they were still going. Allied Telesis are still alive with an AP. I said to you, well, like I actually, when you started doing the Ingenious stuff, Jason, and I went looking, we don't have them really over here. If I want to buy Ingenious, I do have to go really looking. I think Solwise are the only supplier, and they seem dodgy, so I'm not really entertaining dealing with them. But there we go, Aruba Instant On. So the pricing is very good. Alta Labs I'm not interested in. They are trying to I had a look. In fact, I actually had a look, I think, was it last Sunday? Maybe, or something. I've had a look at them, and I've seen that they have a switch range coming out, which is due out, I think, next month. But again, they are coming into a very congested market. They weren't over here. I thought they were coming soon. But again, the APs... What's the selling point? What's the big selling point? It kind of, again, what do you do with a product that is in a market where there are much more mature products? Its selling point is, according to them, we're faster than Unifi. Fantastic. Bit faster throughput than Unifi. But you've got a product and a company what do you do with it? Again, Softwares have entered but haven't distinguished themselves. No, this is why we don't sell software switches and APs. I've got that's the only software AP I've got is there. I don't use it because it doesn't have anything special. It's that sort of thing. I'll come and find it, Jason, when you've done it, because it's not a product that interests me because I'm not going to use it at my clients because I don't need another platform. It doesn't do anything above and beyond what I need Ubiquiti to do. And Ubiquiti, we've got the platform, we can manage, monitor and maintain it very easily. Why would I need another platform that is not MSP ready? That's one of the things. It's not business IT ready. It's okay if you want to install it for yourself as your business. If you're installing it for someone else, does it have an MSP platform? Does it have a central management? Does it have anything like that that you can share between things like that? I don't know. Maybe it does. I shall await your video with bated breath, because that's something you can look at. If you have the ability, again, from me to you, tell me in the video, can I manage multiple sites with it? Can I have multiple users managing multiple sites with it? That's something that I would be interested to see, because that is a key aspect. That is something that if they want to break into that market, they're going to have a look at. Or if they're going to stay specific to where your APs are tied to your control panel and your control panel is your site, something to think about. The other one is, yeah, again, MSP model, corporate model. What are the limitations? How many APs can you have? How many switches can you have? Things like that. Just be interested to know. But yeah, the again, I have to approach things from what I would be willing to put into a client. At the moment, I wouldn't be willing to put them into a client. They are too new. They are not mature enough yet as a product. And the other issue is, if in a year's time they vanish off the face of the earth, are you going to be left with a couple of bricks? If they are that good a product, the other thing that has to be considered, will they get acquired while they're still small? Will someone like Cisco come along and say, will, again, it's those questions. Will Ubiquiti see them and go, they could be a threat? Purchase. There are considerations on that we need to think of. So, yes, as much as they seem to be making a bit of headway, but they are in a market with a lot of people doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. And I would not be surprised to see more. Yes, we are due a consolidation of the IT marketplace. It happens obviously periodically, and at some point they just won't be able. The problem they will hit, because they are not currently a subscription-based model, is at some point the sales of hardware will not allow them to, or not be significant enough to pay their hosting bill. That's one of the problems, and that's the thing. If they don't have a big enough backing, if they don't have a big enough parent company behind them to do that, then that's one of the problems. The other, or they'll end up like Ubiquiti, and they'll basically farm it out to other people, or they'll start to have to charge, and then that will drive people away. Yeah, it's going to be, they're an interest, but they're not really of interest to me because I don't need them. I don't need the product. They're not a product I would be considering for clients. If I was considering an alternative, I would be looking at Aruba. in all honesty, or instant on, or potentially Armada for smaller clients, because they've already had time to establish themselves. Yeah, as Jason says, Alta Labs. They got out there, they got the brand out there well, because obviously they engaged with the big influencers. They threw it out to Chris at Crosstalk, they've thrown it out to Tom, they've thrown it over to Cody. Yeah, it's... But you have to weigh up the marketing side of things as well versus the actual product. If they produce a product and it does, it appears to work great and then flops after 6 months, who's going to pull the plug? Oh no, Cody is the Unifi Messiah, as I jokingly call him. He is Unifi Jesus. He is their favoured son for the moment, until they find someone else. Free software. Oh, that one. My bump box. That was from the launch of XG version 18. The free Sophos advertising is there. I'm not wearing Sophos socks today. Just because it upsets them all. There's a 135. Idle doing nothing. Yeah. Pack. Oh, Pax 8 socks. I am going to have to speak to my account manager. I didn't have much choice. If I didn't do this, this would all be in the house. Which upsets the other half, and she moans at me. No, she doesn't moan at me, to be honest. The running a business from a house is not the easiest thing, aka the boss. We're both the boss. But yes. Anyway, just to finalize, just because again, I don't buy new things that often. That is a Z Fold 5. First ever folding phone I've had. So I will do some update reviews on that, because being used to... That's an S20 Plus. That's been my phone for the last 2.5, 3 years. So I'm moving over to that as a, let's see what they're like. Yeah, Samsung. So... obviously I've set this up. This is being turned into a business phone, so this is fully MDM managed by our by Intune. So I'm using this as we would recommend it, for example, to customers. But I mean, as someone who has been with, so that's my S8. That's what I do. Most of my YouTube videos have been done on that. Which will now be changing over to that, so things should get a tiny bit better. I won't say I was disappointed with my S20. I think the problem is I was spoilt with the Lumias. I was spoilt with the cameras when I had Lumias, and I haven't yet found a phone that did as good a night quality and low light pictures as the Lumias used to do. The Lumias were brilliant. I went through, I had the 720, the 730, and a 950, and they were phenomenal cameras. And it's such a shame that they basically let that product range die. I went up to the S8, and that was, well, still is, in all honesty, a very good phone. I mean, it's only the fact that they obviously stopped updating it. The issue I have is it's had a very hard life, because this gets thrown around, this gets put on the tripod, this gets put on stand, this has got me filming on it most of the time when I'm doing filming. because I'm normally filming on this while looking stuff up on this. Well, now I've got the Fold, so I will be filming on this whilst doing stuff on this. So we'll see how it behaves. This, I believe, is well, the Fold Z5 has literally launched like yesterday. I mean, it arrived pretty much yesterday. I think they're launching like this week. So again, it's let me bring you guys around here. Bing. See, so I mean, you can see, yes, there is a visible fold. You can see my fingerprints on it. So the weird bit getting used to again is the fingerprint sensor is on the side. And I mean, the screen is great. I mean, in terms of actual screen estate, it's great, but it's getting used to silly things. Like I'm used to like fingerprint sensor, so I've got to transfer all my stuff over from here that is work related onto here, and things like that. But it's just getting used to it. It's Android, so it's I use the Microsoft launcher on here because again we can control it via Intune. So it's got desktop background from Bing, but it's a good size for everything. You can use it sort of very easily. Yeah, I mean, it is their thing. Ooh, current live stream. But at the same time, let's go to my channel. It actually makes things very, very easy to do. And the thing I say, the best thing I've found so far when you've got it in this mode is the keyboard, is the split keyboard. Being able to type on like that is incredibly easy. So there's, again, phones are very much a personal preference, but it's that sort of thing. Yeah, you just fold it in half, and then you've got a normal-ish phone, if it's not a bit heavy, but again, it's not a lot set up on it at the moment. It's very, very cut down because it's just being used for work now. But yeah, again, it's one of those things that the more I use it, the more I find good things, bad things, then I will do updates on it. But phones are a difficult one, I think, to do a decent real-world review, because any modern phone is fast. Any modern phone should have a good screen. Any modern phone will have a good camera. It's how it functions for you, I think, that is the main part. So I can only review it based on my experience of it, and I'd rather do that and say to people, look, if you're happy to have a phone that's like thicker than your old phone, generally day to day is actually a smaller screen unless you open it up, things like that, then fine. But if you don't want that, if you just want one thing, then maybe, because the other option was to go up to an S23 Ultra, for example, which has got a phenomenal camera on it supposedly, and things like that. But it's a normal single thing. It's not a big screen. It's just it's a bit bigger than this is an S20 Plus and things like that. And yeah, it's all about personal with it. But it's why I have no problem with iPhones. I never have had a problem with iPhones because I had an iPhone 4. My other half, she's on an iPhone 13. We support iPhones, and in all honesty, iPhones are easier to manage for business. This isn't cheap. I mean, this is on contract, so it's paid for monthly through the business. I mean, it was an option. I could have got an S23 Ultra. It's about the same price. It might have even been a little bit cheaper. But for business, iPhones with Apple Business Manager, and as it used to be DEP, were so much easier to manage because you just got a phone that was signed into DEP, and as soon as you gave it to the end user, it would enroll itself. Now, there are ways to do that now with Android, but it's nowhere near as easy still. And that's one of the things. And then not only that, if you have someone who has used and only used an iPhone and you give them an Android phone, they get lost, they get confused, and they get broken until they get an iPhone. Is something I've found many, many times. It's not that bad. Not when you see not when you see this. Yeah. So, again, mine's on contract through a business, so no, I'm not paying that for it. But yeah, not cheap. But the idea is that if it does what I need it to do, and it behaves as what I need it to behave, then hopefully it will work better. The interesting part of it would be I was waiting for, and I was annoyed it never really materialized properly. Back in the day, I was waiting for Microsoft to do the Lumia Fold, as it was going to be. The folding, or Surface, the original Surface phone was going to be not a folding phone, it was going to be a two-part phone, which then became the Surface Duo. So, because that was basically, it meant they could have a folding phone, but you didn't have a folding screen. And then they did the Duo 2. Now, supposedly the Duo 3 is going to have a folding screen. But we don't know what's happening with it yet. We're waiting to see. So, hence why I went for this, because obviously being the fifth iteration of the Fold, hopefully Samsung will have learned enough to make a good product by now. The Fold 4 got good reviews. The Fold 3 had a few problems. I think the Fold and the Fold 2 were a bit wobbly. But we shall see what becomes of it. And I will give some opinions on it over the next sort of coming months. With just some, there'll be shorts. There'll just be short updates as I update things. But yeah, I mean, I still don't think anything. I mean, that the Lumia 950 was a great phone for its time. It's just such a shame that Microsoft killed that product off. Lumia 950, 950 XL, Windows Mobile, again, killed off way too soon, which was a shame. I had that. I have still got that dock sat downstairs. It's a little USB-C phone dock, and on the back of that dock there's a little display port, a couple of USB things. It was a great little dock, but it's sadly I think it's long since gone out of support. And that was it. That was the Elite X3 was the other alternative. I'm not surprised the Surface line has lasted. I mean, I've got sat up on the shelf over there. There's a Surface Pro 3 with a smashed screen. I've got my Pro 3 up there, and they still work. Not brilliantly, but they still work. And I think I've got a Surface up there, Surface 3. Next week I'm installing a Surface Pro 9 for a client. And they've had the Pro 4, the Pro 5, the Pro 7. They've now gone up to the Pro 9. And they've not had any real problems with any of them. They've been absolutely fine because they fit what they need them to do. But I know people that unfortunately the biggest problem with the Surfaces was the dock. In fact, there's one dock sat over there. That was one of the biggest mess ups that Microsoft did, was they put the weird connector on it, the Surface dock connector. If they'd actually put moved to a USB-C connector quicker, they would have had more success. The Surface laptop, I believe, gets a good review now, so there are some good alternatives. Right, I'm just looking at the time, and I have been live for nearly 2 hours now, so I think I'm going to wind it up there. But I think I covered everything. I think we've explored some fun and entertaining things. Yes, I will probably be doing a little bit more on here going forward for a bit. I have now got the disc chassis has arrived for the FX2. This is just a normal purple. This one is just a purple. It can supposedly do 1 gig throughput. I've speed tested mine and I get between 500 and 700-ish, which isn't bad, with ad blocking and stuff and everything on. So yes, it's just a normal purple, not the SE. Oh yeah, be fine for that. But yeah, I've got an FD332 now for the FX2, which is there. So I'm going to try and get a video done on that. I need to do a video doing the R710, R730 comparison. And as anything new and entertaining comes up, I will normally do a short with them if it's a 60-second one. I'm going to do a review on the Dream Router because it's the one device that I've never had a chance to do a 60-second review on, and also do a full opinion on now that it's actually settled down and launched. I had one back in the EA days, and it went out. It's been round at my parents' ever since, and I kept meaning to go around and sit in front of it and do a 60-second review. But I would do a 60-second. I need to do a 60-second review on the Dream Router, and also a full review as to why we use them and why we recommend them for certain use cases as well. So that's what I'm trying to get done. In between the fact that I'm away this week up country because I need to go and pick the car up and all sorts of fun things. So without further ado, I'm going to say thank you everyone for joining me. I will catch up with you all in one form or another. You can find me on here. You can find me on TikTok a lot. You can find me kind of on Facebook. Oh, Horizon, fun. And I'm, as ever, if you see me, and you've got questions, just ask away, the normal stuff. So, again, thank you for joining me, and I will catch up with you all very soon.